Hello, everybody. It is me. Yes, I've been doing YouTube for some time now. I do a lot of stuff. So hopefully, uh, what I'm planning to do is that this is just going to be like a very short, just a kind of little bit of an impromptu stream because one, it gives you guys the opportunity to see my new camera in action. Now, technically, what's also happened is that my uh the Logitech webcam that I use also apparently has like a microphone feature to it. So hopefully you guys will be able to hear me out as well. So there've been a kind of like a couple of other things as well. I mean, I kept my Snowball mic plugged in just in case something goes wrong. Fortunately, it hasn't go wrong in like OBS so far, but I'm just doing it for the sake of just um, just trying to test out just how this is all going. It is new equipment. Hopefully, you guys will be able to hear me. If there's anybody else there right now, it's saying that my it's picking up my audio and stuff like that. I have no idea how well this is all going. I probably need to actually put this on silent for the moment and stuff like that. And yes, first of all, hello chat, hello everybody, and welcome all of you to what is just a very going to be like a by the numbers stream. We're just going to like just talk stuff, I guess. And well, actually, let's sort of get down to it for those who have joined us. Hi, everyone. First of all, is that videos will be resuming in July at the very latest. So I certainly hope people are looking forward to seeing us come back. I feel like it's going to be almost one of those sort of cold openings, if that makes sense, because uh, is the actually I'll just type this in the chat just to ask Okay, that's we'll basically just throw that out there into the void and just to wait to see what happens. So, um, a couple of things I kind of wanted to ask at this point is because, like, modern Chris chat, like ever since Chris got released from the Nick about was it a year ago that Chris got released or something like that? Because it must be coming up to that point where basically he's moved into an apartment in Barbersburg, in Lynchburg. He sort of like fell off the map. He stopped uploading videos. He stopped doing game streams. He was last apparently seen in Dallas, Texas. But it's I wonder genuinely if it's just sort of Chris is just sort of just completely like given up at thought of trying to socialize online, or whether or not his sort of material is like heavily scrutinized by the authorities or those who are taking an interest, because we sort of run into a situation right now where just there's not really too much else I can really like. But by the time this year will be over, we'll literally know more about Chris than probably I will about myself. But with all that being said and done, it's kind of interesting to know that despite everything that Chris has done, and despite that it's not exactly as if his popularity is like waned anytime soon. His popularity is probably going to stay virtually the same because we also run into a very distinct and unique issue when it comes to, well, what happens when Chris does go off the handle once again. I mean, I spent an entire video talking about the fact that Chris went off the handle and tried to say that um, my Little Pony Generation 5 was funded by Russian oligarchs, and how it was literally just some troll who made some posts on Kiwi Farms about this, and then Chris believed every single word about them because, well, well, no, it's not despite anything. This is just Chris, that even at 42 years of age, cannot distinctly know the difference between, somebody who's doing things ironically and things that are happening in complete sincerity. So there's that. Now, other things aside, is that uh, in terms of when I uh, come back to like making videos full time, is that one of the many things I wanted to try and do is that when we get to, let's say, near end of July, I kind of want to almost resort to sort of like doing Chris Chan video, like doing the rest of the comprehensive history documentary series like once a week. That's pretty much as I want to do with Chris at that point because I think we'll be just on the cusp of almost sort of running out of things to talk about him. And then, of course, there are just other big fish to fry as well. For example, Lovely Peaches, a name that, to be honest, I've not had to hear that name for at least a good 10 years now. And Lovely Peaches is, oh God, how can I describe the things that this woman does? Well, first of all, she's clearly a woman who like hates dogs because I've seen some videos where she like tries to spray some sort of like perfume or cologne into a dog's face, and then she like picks up a dog almost like by the neck and stuff like that. And this is like a little chihuahua thing we're talking about, and yeah, you can clearly tell obviously they're not meant to be held like that. Now, as it comes, now as far as like I'm concerned, there's a lot of other things we could point. I mean, I don't really want to say like a lot of stuff is going to be like poking around things like Smokey MC and those who've been documenting locales for such a long time. I mean, hell, I could literally take a look at what was the Daniel Larson wiki right now, and here it is. I mean, I don't exactly know what exactly else it's going to add apart from it's still in cold silver. And yep, and awaited trial in prison for making threats and risk of facing up to 65 years in federal prison. And the last time this whole thing was updated was May 31st. It was either on the day or like several days later when I stepped back from YouTube for a while. And apparently it said that literally the last known instance about Daniel's updates was when he was transferred to the Federal Correctional Institution in Jefferson County. Good. Yeah, I'm gonna say I think like that's just about it. I suppose maybe the things I could do in terms of like Daniel Lawson, I guess, is like a lot of the chronological events from the before era, the classic, the fog, the homeless, the dogs, the college, and then of course going to jail, which I kind of almost seen a little bit about. Well, considering what I did know about Daniel Lawson, is the fact that well, there was only one place that guy was going, and that was the big house. Because, and let me tell you something, Daniel Lawson is still about as unhinged and as crazy, as demented, and absolutely just. I can't think for one second what probably must be going through Daniel's mind right now. In fact, I don't think anybody wants to know. But I also like to imagine that if Daniel Lawson would is starting to regret his decisions, well, maybe he's going to have a lot of time to think about it. 65 years he's facing. And even if he has literally only like, even if it's only like a 6.5 year sentence, that's still 6 years of his life that he's basically just thrown away. And whatever hope he has when he gets out is, well, nobody knows. In fact, I, it's the story of Daniel Lawson is one of the most depressing, the most deprived, and a story where there is literally no heroes. Everybody is a villain, and well, you come away from it thinking, well, what was the whole point of that? Well, I think actually, to be honest, the whole like story of Daniel Larson is that where there are no heroes, and that it's just another bleak day in another very bleak world in the state of Colorado. I don't know if there's anybody out there who's actually from Colorado by any point, or even from Jefferson County, but yeah, I can't imagine. I can only imagine things will be probably better knowing that psychopaths like Daniel Larson are off the streets, hopefully for good. But then again, for every Daniel Larson that is recorded and talked about, there are probably hundreds of others who aren't, who just so happen to be out there. I mean, I could talk a little bit about like the homeless community, for example, in Newcastle, but there's no real point to that because probably half of them were probably got like issues like Daniel Lawson, but Daniel Lawson's issue is that he has absolutely no like self-awareness, no self-control. He is basically a threat to himself and a threat to his immediate environment. Perhaps maybe the worst sort of lolcows and the worst sort of people on the internet are the people who are, well, basically their biggest obstacle is themselves. Something they've never been able to tell themselves, and something that they've never been able to fully comprehend. Because trying to consider is the word I'm going to use that maybe the fault is themselves, but no, it's strange. Is the issue sometimes with people like Lovely Peaches or DSP or Geordie or any of the others. In my opinion, is that the Weens want old Chris's past shenanigans, but for the sole purpose of annoying him. But and to them, it's if Bob didn't pass away to them. Yes, probably, but I think it's also just a part of the way a little bit about how like the zeitgeist of almost like the internet changes, and rather just how people's perspective of things changes. I mean, you could say that even as far back as 2009, people were more than happy to see these sort of shenanigans happening because it was there was no president and there was certainly no larger authority who was willing to step in. I mean, even as far back as 2009, the largest like official body that was willing to even bother to taking a stand into Chris's affairs was possibly the sheriff's department of Greene County over possibly condemning 14 Branch Lane Court. And by the way, I did a few videos talking about the actual properties that Chris has been in as of late. What I'm going to say about that is that, well, to be honest, these are again, this is one of those very bizarre occasions where that they should have stepped in. They should have had a lot of things to say about it because, well, Chris and Bob, and probably Bob as well, have had a very long and serious relationship between decking and completely trashing places to the point of ruin, and then literally never having to repair it. I mean, what was the rental house that both Bob and Chris stayed in for a whole year in 2014? Apparently, that entire property was still like empty 4 whole months after they moved out of it in like early 2015. And I'll say it again. They just left it as it was, probably, well, probably because the landlord probably got back and when he was gonna, he was probably just gonna change the locks and stuff like that. He probably got back into that property, looked around, and probably would have had a heart attack. I mean, to be honest, some of the accounts I've heard, from like rat droppings to uh, the smell, probably like literally gets into the walls, innumerable bugs. Well, to be honest, it would be very difficult to say whether or not like bugs were really brought into the house. I mean, we all know fine well that Chris and Bob never bothered actually walking Clover and Snoopy. Because Snoopy, I believe, well, outside of Snoopy having like an issue with its leg, Chris just they had no interest. And I know, again, I've mentioned this time and time again, but what was even the point of even having dogs at all if you weren't even going to look after them? At least, I look after my dog. My family looks after we all look after my dog. My family, including myself, look after my two dogs, and we take them for walks, and we get quite a lot of exercise. It's basic responsibility. You look after their welfare. You concern you take care. There are just some things you have to do, and some things that don't even need explaining because it's how it is. But yeah, they're fantastic together, and they love the hell out of each other. I share the same sentiment that Bob's fate would have been prevented if Bob had just let them clean the house and if the idea guys got arrested because, well, extortion is illegal. Yes, absolutely. And, but I think at that point, it would have been Chris would have had to have done it of his own volition. I don't necessarily disbelieve in the idea that probably somebody on Reddit or maybe someone on the Kiwi farms during this period looked at all this and thinking to themselves, "Hmm, we probably should have done something about this." Because supposing, okay, here's the thing. Because listen, I don't know Noel personally, anything like that. I've never interacted with him. I've never been on the Kiwi farms myself. But I'm beginning to like, if no knew anything about this, then somebody could have, they could have literally, he could have been questioned for things like whether or not he was an accomplice to this, or if he knew that there was a crime taking place, then why did he not get on the phone and to well, okay, well, to be fair, no, no, the captain, Marvin, there were quite a lot of people who actually did step in. Absolutely. In fact, to be honest, okay, when I go back to watch like the Chris Chan comprehensive history, I think it's like either part 64 or 65 when it happens. But I will watch the entire segment, probably make another video about it anyway. Try to like go over the logistics about why Stephen Boyd and Joshua Wise they were never prosecuted or why there were no charges pushed onto them. You could say almost immediately that this was Chris's response. Chris should have done that. That if Chris, but the problem is that oh god, how do I okay? It would have. Oh god, I the point of why Chris did it, I think, is maybe because some of the things he was writing about that he would have been investigated for. Um, because probably what they would have had to have done is that Green County would have probably have to do like a wellness check, another wellness check on Chris. They would have gone through his social media. They would have seen all the posts about Chris wanting to blankety blank with Bob, even as far back as 2000s, even as far back as 2008. They would have had to have done this, and then you have to wonder whether or not it would have been in the interest of Chris to like, yes, he would have probably have gotten his money back, but he probably would have had to like spend a lot more time in therapy, a lot more time in things like what's the word? What was that place he went to when it was to like to avoid jail time? But what was the place called? It was like uh it will come to me eventually. In fact, it's actually starting to get dark a little bit. I'm gonna put the lights on. Hopefully, again, this whole thing like it takes light up pretty well. I mean, I don't want to listen. Oh, that is like much better already. So there's all that. Oh, that's much better. And I just actually, to be honest, um, let's let's take a pause from talking about Chris for a second because there were other things I did want to sort of like talk about for this live stream, if you will. And I suppose now is the good time to talk about it. Sort of a little bit about more specifically about the reasons why I've been away, and probably for the reasons why I'm explaining this on one of my secondary channels, as opposed to why I didn't just talk about this on my main channel. Like, what was the point in doing this? I've got to like, I'm actually just going to blow my nose because I need to like low key that nearly blew my goddamn ears out doing that. Right. Okay. So, oh, that is like 10 times better already. So, for like, I think I've stopped doing like videos, stopped like uploading videos for about like 7 weeks now. But what I have managed to do is that July is usually is like quite a significant month for like at least all the time I've been doing stuff on YouTube because coming up in July would have been 6 whole years since I started doing videos on YouTube. It's I mean, let's think about this. 6 years, two entire different brand accounts because my original like account got deleted at like I think it was like the middle of August of 2020. So 2 years, like basically the first 2 years was what I almost like to like call work experience. Then I rebuilt my image, spent a whole year making videos, uploaded them all for 2022. Basically, went on the low, went in, almost went incommunicado for about a year. Came back 2023, made videos very, very regularly. Then started making a bunch of videos to be released for the beginning of 2024. Released a lot of videos over a long period of time, and well, here we are. I know it's a very abridged history of my history in terms of broadcasting, but to be honest, that's kind of really where it came to be. We've got like we've now got like really good equipment. We've got like green screens. We've got two monitors. We've got lighting. We've got professional lighting. We've got better editing. We've got OBS. We've got a blue ball snowball mic. We've got a Logitech web camera. 6 consoles. We've got just about everything we could possibly need. And well, all I've got to do is well, put something together that people would be interested in seeing, and just to like really put myself out there once again. And in that tune, ladies and gentlemen, it might be of some interest to know that I managed to get started 5 whole new channels in the past number of weeks, including making roughly 700 videos in the span of 8 weeks. And we're not even finished yet. So what we've sort of done is that we've almost uh, got nearly 15 whole channels with my stamp on them, and now is the time basically for these things to get to work. Because I know I've probably mentioned this before, but I finally started making money on YouTube for the first time in 5 years. I made money off YouTube back in February, and then I started making more money again, and then I'm now I've nearly made a whole £1,000 in literally 5 months since I started doing this, as in like actually making money off YouTube. So that sort of turnover is actually really good, considering that I've had like made money before, but that's only through things like Patreon and stuff like that. This, however, is quite a different sort of enterprise, a very different sort of affair. And well, what else can I say? We've got to do more, and well, now I think it's the time to do it. So I think realistically, this is sort of like where I'm just going to cut it. It was just sort of like just a tryout, my new equipment and stuff like that. Actually, I think it's gone down a storm, all things considered. And well, now it's time once again to get back to work. So thank you guys so much for being a part of us. And I cannot wait to see all of you guys again in just 2 weeks to go, ladies and gentlemen. And we'll be back. So take care, and I'll see you guys again later.